A March Madness unlike any we've seen will narrow its field to a Final Four tomorrow.
It's been fun, but you might not have known that Minnesota's own Hamline University hosted the first game between two colleges. How did that happen, and how much has basketball changed since then? That's a good question Heather Brown first answered 2 years ago.
So tell me the story.
So the first game was played on February 9th, 1895.
It was Hamline versus the Minnesota School of Agriculture.
Which is now the St. Paul campus of the University of Minnesota.
Final score, 9-3.
And unfortunately, Hamline lost that first.
How did they get 3?
I think it was just a single point for each bucket. And obviously, there was no three-point line either. It was a very different game than what we're playing today.
It was the original rules of basketball, which had been invented 4 years earlier. Watch this reenactment Hamline did at the 100th year anniversary. Coach Hayes was a referee.
It was actually 9 versus 9. There was actually goaltenders as well at that time. It was peach baskets, so they had a ladder that you had to climb up and get the ball out and have a jump ball after each score.
Back then, players couldn't dribble, just pivot and pass.
It wasn't the prettiest game of basketball I've ever seen, but it was fun to be a part of for sure.
How did Hamline get the first game?
That is a good question. Ray Kane obviously brought the game here.
Ray Kane was Hamline's athletic director at the time. He had played basketball for James Naismith, the man who invented the game back in Massachusetts.
Other schools have tried to steal your thunder, though.
They have.
Both Geneva College in Pennsylvania and Vanderbilt in Tennessee called themselves the first. But they weren't playing against other schools.
We actually, though, like I said, are considered the birthplace of intercollegiate basketball.
Heather Brown.
It's an incredible piece of history to be a part of.
WCCO 4 News.
And Heather answered that question before the pandemic, so no mask in the story. The original game at Hamline was played in the basement of an old science hall that has since been torn down.
Yeah, and players used what would now be considered a soccer ball. If you have a good question for Heather, email her by visiting WCCO.com/links.